so excited when Atima from the Virginia Now organization invited me to speak because I feel like someone got it. Because I'm one of the people who all of the people up here have strived to make a difference in the lives of, and they totally did. Feminism absolutely saved my life. That's like a bumper sticker. But I grew up in Southern Virginia, and I was the typical girl who wanted to fit in, who wanted to be just like the models in magazines and the people on TV. And I glamorized everything, and I always wore pink, and I always wanted to be perfect. And as every teenager ends up having the realization that not everything's perfect, and in fact life can be really gross and disappointing and frustrating. And I never found any resources to help me deal with that. I only found resources that were supposed to make me thinner, and to help me look better, and to help me feel better, and to help me become the perfect person I always wanted to be. And it never worked out like that. No matter how hard I tried, or how close I became to the Holy Grail, it never seemed to work. And I was so frustrated with my body and with myself. And when I got my period, I'm in Southern Virginia. We referred to it down there as a hoo-ha. And I got my period at 10, not prepared. We had a sad week of family life in which I was taught that menstruation, things like that, were surrounded by pancake cooking and hair brushing with your mom. And I didn't have any of these activities, so I was ill prepared for life. And I was really ill-prepared when I got to Harvard. And I looked around, and everyone seemed so much more mature than me. They seemed more aware of themselves, and more importantly, they seemed to be the perfect people that I always wanted to be. And I was very fortunate to take a women's studies class my freshman year. And I had no idea that something like that existed. And my mind opened, and it was like some switch that needed to be clicked on. Immediately blinked. And it didn't change who I was, but it changed how I could see myself and how I could put myself in the context of the media. And I realized that I was really fortunate to have an education like the one I had that was very open and inspiring, and we could talk about our issues, and we could be comfortable with each other and share our stories and become powerful. But I'm from an area where that's just not possible for the vast majority of people. And the people in here in this room, we're all really fortunate because we have what separates us from 99.9% of people out there, and that's an education and wisdom about the things that matter. And I knew that when I was approaching my senior year, people didn't have that. In my hometown, they revered different things, and one of the things they revered were pageant queens. And I really wanted to go back and make a big difference. I was going to have a fun year after graduation, so I told my women's studies professor said, you know what, I think I'm going to compete for the Miss America competition. And I told my friend. And he said, you know what, that's a great idea. And I said, great. They supported me because they knew what I wanted to do was make change. I wanted to approach the issues that stressed me out as a kid and help girls deal with them then. And I did it, and it was a very interesting experience. On my resume, the most prominent thing called daughters of servants amongst the pageant people. As soon as I won the title Miss Virginia, they said, we're excited you won. One thing, you have a glaring typo that we have to fix before Miss America. I said, well, what is it? And they said, that right there. And I said, no, that's the way it's supposed to be. She said, are you sure it's not supposed to be the Virginia model? I said, no, it's the vagina model. I produced it, and before that I did monologue cunt. I did not use the word Miss America, but it was just so great because I then had young women around the country that were inspired to be the girly girl they wanted to be, but also to be a strong, empowered woman who could take control of her body. One of my favorite moments, I was in Blockbuster, and I was in my sweatpants, and I was just all ratting out, and this girl comes running up, she's like, oh my God, you're Miss Virginia. Oh my God. I'm totally going to Harvard. I'm totally majoring in women's studies. I'm totally going to be a feminist and stuff, and I want to be a pageant queen too. It's just like the conservatives. If I can get them in the room, let's brainwash them. It's like a timeshare. Like whatever can get people on our side. So that's always been my motivation, is to really try to get people where they are and to make them excited about who they can be. And so my book, Body Drama, came about because regarding my body, I've never been excited about where I could be. Even when I won Swimsuit Miss America, I hated my body. I was pissed off that after all of this hard work, all of these squats, all of these accolades, it still leaked and creaked and stunk, and I never got the information I needed. And we're always so ashamed and embarrassed about these not so feminine things that every woman I know deals with. And from the time I was a 10-year-old girl going through puberty, I looked and I searched and I pre-ordered from the library any book I could find on health. And nothing ever got to the questions and the issues that I answered. The only thing I could ever find that remotely answered any question I had, and this is so sad, was Alice Walker's Possessing the Secret of Joy. And the only reason I love that book is because in the back, on a very old Xerox page, there's a picture of a real vulva. And I was 13, 14, and I would stare at that. And I'd be so excited because it was the most normal looking body part I've ever seen. And it was from that time that I knew I wanted to make a difference, I just didn't know how. And I never really realized how my Miss America experience would prepare me for being an activist, but it did in ways I never could have imagined, because we can talk a lot about how the media sucks, basically, when it comes to women's representation. But as the women on the panel know, when you live it, it is a different ballgame, and you can be as strong as you want, but it can tear you down in ways unimaginable. I was a pretty confident girl when I went into this, and one of the first things you do is you take a headshot. And this is completely ridiculous. I got pageant hair, a wind fan, lots of lipstick. I thought it was a great picture. But as soon as it came out, I became presented to the pageant people. I said, yay, I'm so excited, here's my picture. And you would have thought I presented them a picture of Godzilla. Oh, it's not ready. This is not print ready. They said, well, what's wrong? Oh, it has to be airbrushed, honey. You can't go out looking like that. And I said, what on earth do you need to do? Well, first of all, your forehead's all wrong. And I was like, it's my forehead. What's wrong with my forehead? And said that your hair color's too dark, but this is the color of my hair. And so anyway, long story short, and they decided to do this crazy fake person thing. They add all this hair, and they changed my lipstick, and they changed, it was just, and so it's kind of like a morph of me, and I immediately started getting stressed out because I knew that this was just the end of the beginning, and the beginning of the end, and the whole experience was going to be one more demoralizing thing after the other. But eventually it became normal. It became normal to wax my forehead. It became normal to see every picture of myself emphasized and changed. And I realized that this is what girls are seeing. And this is why I was so frustrated as a teenager, because you never see anything real. Even though it looks almost real, it's not real. It's been made perfect. So when I was looking at my body in the mirror and looking at the magazine pictures, I was realizing that it was just different, and it wasn't an accurate representation of what one really owns. And it's not just pornography or models. It's everybody.